Okay. Come on, YouTube, you're taking forever. Come on. All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right. It looks like we're about to be live here, I think. Okay. All right, let me just get out of here. Let's go to, all right. Let's go back into Zoom here. Okay. Now, Brother Joshua, if you want, now I'm trying to think, should we, if we're going to do, it's totally up to you. If you want us to do Psalms as like singing the Psalms, it's up to you whether you want to record it or not record and keep it off the record. Just let me know what you want to do if we're going to sing the Psalms.
It doesn't matter to me either way. I wasn't gonna sing all of them. Just I was gonna read.
You're gonna sing all 106
I'll read some and maybe sing one or two, but whether you record or it don't matter to me either way.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Just wanted to make sure everyone's comfortable. All right. Okay. All right. All
Where
right.
are we again? I'm sorry.
Let's see here. So half Torah scripture reading here. Psalms 21 to 34. Yeah, so let's see here. All right, so yeah, feel free to do that. I'm gonna get it back. We're actually on YouTube Live right now, so let's go to recording to the cloud. All right, Brother Joshua is gonna be doing Psalms 21 to 34 for us, so I'll let him take the floor.
So Psalms 21 says, "The king rejoices in your strength, Yahuwah. How greatly he rejoices in the salvation you provide. You have given him his heart's desire and have not held back the request of his lips. For you bring him rich blessings. You placed on his head a crown of purest gold. He asked you for life, you gave it to him. You gave him long days forever and ever. His glory is great because of your victory. You have bestowed on him splendor and majesty. For you grant him lasting blessings. You make him glad with the joy of your presence. For the king trusts in Yahuwah. For the covenant faithfulness of the Most High, he will not be moved. Your hand will seize all your enemies. Your right hand will seize those who hate you. At the time of your anger, you will burn them up as in a fiery furnace. Yahuwah will consume them in his wrath, and the fire will devour them. You will destroy their offspring from the earth, and their descendants from among the human race. For they intended evil against you. They conceived a plot with which they will not succeed. For you will turn them back. You will draw your bow before them. Be exalted, Yahuwah, in your strength. We will sing and praise your power." I'm going to change my translation. Okay. O Aluah, my Aluah, attend to me. Why have you forsaken me? The account of my transgressions is far from my salvation. O my Aluah, I will cry to you by day, but you will not hear, and by night, and it shall not be accounted for folly to me. But you, the praise of Yahshua, dwell in a sanctuary. Our fathers hoped in you. They hoped, and you did deliver them. They cried to you and were saved. They hoped in you and were not ashamed. But I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of men and scorn of the people. All that saw me mocked me. They spoke with lips. They shook the head. He hoped in Yahuwah, let him deliver him. Let him save him, because he takes pleasure in him. For you are he that drew me out of the womb, my hope from my mother's breast. I was cast on you from the womb. You are my Aluah from my mother's belly. Stand not aloof from me, for affliction is near, there is no helper. Many bullocks have compassed me, fat bulls have beset me round. They have opened their mouth against me as a ravening and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are loosened. My heart in the midst of my belly is become like melting wax. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue is glued to my throat. And you have brought me down to the dust of death, for many dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked doers has beset me round. They pierced my hands and my feet. They counted all my bones, and they observed and looked upon me. They parted my garments themselves and cast lots upon my raiment. But you, O Yahuwah, remove not my help afar off. Be ready for mine aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my only begotten one, from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth, and my lowliness from the horns of the unicorns. I will declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the ecclesia will I sing praise to you. You that fear Yahuwah, praise him. All you, seed of Yaakov, glorify him. Let all the seed of Yasharal fear him. For he has not despised, nor been angry at the supplication of the poor, nor turned away his face from me. But when I cried to him, he heard me. My praises of you in the congregation. I will pay my vows before them that fear him. The poor shall eat and be satisfied, and they shall praise Yahuwah that seek him. Their heart shall live forever. All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to Yahuwah, and all the kindred of the nations shall worship before him. For the kingdom is Yahuwah's, and he is the governor of the nations. All the fat ones of the earth have eaten and worshipped. All that go down to the earth shall fall down before him. My soul also lives to him, and my seed shall serve him. The generation that is coming shall be reported to Yahuwah, and they shall report his righteousness to the people that shall be born, whom Yahuwah has made. Yahuwah tends me as a shepherd, and I shall lack nothing. In a place of green grass, there he has made. Sorry, we're in 23. This is the next one. In a place of green grass, there he has made me dwell. He has nourished me by the water of rest. He has restored my soul. He has guided me to the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yes, even if I should walk in the midst of the shadow of death, I will not be afraid of evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, these have comforted me. You have prepared a table before me in the presence of them that afflict me. You have thoroughly anointed my head with oil, and your cup cheers me like the best wine. Your mercy also shall follow me all the days of my life, and my dwelling in the house of Yahuwah for a very long time. Psalms 24. A psalm of Dawood for the first day of the week. The earth is Yahuwah's and the fullness thereof, the world and all that dwell in it. He has founded it upon the seas and prepared it upon the rivers. Who shall go up to the mountain of Yahuwah? And who shall stand in his holy place? He that is innocent in his hands and pure in his heart, who has not lifted up his soul to vanity nor sworn deceitfully to his neighbor. He shall receive a blessing from Yahuwah and mercy from Allah his Savior. This is the generation of them that seek him, that seek the face of the Allah of Yaakov. Selah. Lift up your gates, you princes, and be you lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? Yahuwah strong and mighty, Yahuwah mighty in battle. Lift up your gates, you princes, and be you lift up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? Yahuwah of hosts, he is this King of glory. Psalms 25. To you, O Yahuwah, have I lifted up my soul. O my Allah, I have trusted in you. Let me not be confounded. neither let my enemies laugh me to scorn. For none of them that wait on you shall in any wise be ashamed. Let them be ashamed that transgress without cause. Show me your ways, O Yahuwah, and teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are Allah my Savior, and I have waited on you all the day. Remember your compassions, O Yahuwah, and your mercies, for they are from everlasting. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor of ignorance. Remember me according to your mercy, for your goodness' sake, O Yahuwah. Good and upright is Yahuwah. Therefore he will instruct sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment. The meek will he teach his ways. All the ways of Yahuwah are mercy and strength to them that seek his covenant and his testimonies. For your name's sake, O Yahuwah, do you also be merciful to my sin, for it is great. Who is the man that fears Yahuwah? He shall instruct him in the way which he has chosen. His soul shall dwell in prosperity, and his seed shall inherit the earth. Yahuwah is the strength of them that fear him, and his covenant is to manifest to them. Mine eyes are continually to Yahuwah, for he shall draw my feet out of the snare. Look upon me, and have mercy upon me, for I am an only child and poor. The afflictions of my heart have been multiplied. Deliver me from my distress. Look upon my affliction and my trouble, and forgive all my sins. Look upon my enemies, for they have been multiplied, and they have hated me with unjust hatred. Keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I have hoped in you. The harmless and upright join themselves to me, for I waited for you, O Yahuwah. Deliver Yasharal, O Allah, out of all his afflictions. Psalms 26. Judge me, O Yahuwah, for I have walked in my innocence, and hoping in Yahuwah I shall not be moved. Prove me, O Yahuwah, and try me. Purify as with fire my reins and my heart. For your mercy is before my eyes, and I am well pleased with your truth. I have not sat with the counsel of vanity, and will in no wise enter in with transgressors. I have hated the assembly of wicked doers, and will not sit with the ungodly. I will wash my hands in innocency and compass your altar, O Yahuwah, to hear the voice of praise and declare all your wonderful works. O Yahuwah, I have loved the beauty of your house in the place of the tabernacle of your glory. Destroy not my soul together with the unalahimly, nor my life with bloody men, in whose hands are iniquities, and their right hand is filled with bribes. But I have walked in my innocence, redeem me, and have mercy upon me. My foot stands in an even place. In the congregations will I bless you, O Yahuwah. Psalms 27. Yahuwah is my light and my Savior, whom shall I fear? Yahuwah is the defender of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers drew near against me to eat up my flesh, my persecutors and my enemies, they fainted and they fell. Though an army should set itself in array against me, my heart shall not be afraid. Though war should rise up against me, in this am I confident. One thing have I asked of Yahuwah, this will I earnestly seek, that I should dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, that I should behold the fair beauty of Yahuwah and survey his temple. For in the day of mine afflictions, he hid me in his tabernacle. He sheltered me in the secret of his tabernacle. He set me up on a rock. And now behold, he has lifted up my head over my enemies. I went round and offered in his tabernacle the sacrifice of joy. I will sing psalms to Yahuwah. Hear, O Yahuwah, my voice, which I have uttered aloud. Pity me and listen to me. My heart said to you, I have diligently sought your face, O Yahuwah, I will seek Turn not your face away from me. Turn not away from your servant in anger. Be you my helper, forsake me not. And O Halua, my Savior, overlook me not, for my father and my mother have forsaken me. But Yahuwah has taken me to himself. Teach me, O Yahuwah, in your way, and guide me in a right path because of my enemies. Deliver me not over to the desire of them that afflict me. For unjust witnesses have risen up against me, and injustice has lied within herself. I believe that I shall see the goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living. Wait on Yahuwah, be of good courage, and let your heart be strengthened. Yes, wait on Yahuwah. Psalms 28. To you, O Yahuwah, have I cried, my Aluah, be not silent toward me, lest you be silent toward me, and so I should be likened to them that go down to the pit. Listen to the voice of my supplication when I pray to you, when I lift up my hands toward your holy temple. Draw not away my soul with sinners, and destroy me not with the workers of iniquity, who speak peace with their neighbors, but evils are in their hearts. Give them according to their works, and according to the wickedness of their devices. Give them according to the works of their hands, render their recompense to them, because they have not attended to the works of Yahuwah, even to the works of his hands. You shall pull them down and shall not build them up. Blessed be Yahuwah, for he has listened to the voice of my petition. Yahuwah is my helper and my defender. My heart has hoped in him, and I am helped. My flesh is revived, and willingly will I give praise to him. Yahuwah is the strength of his people and the saving defender of his anointed. Save your people and bless your inheritance, and take care of them and lift them up forever. 29. Bring to Yahuwah, you sons of Aluah. Bring to Yahuwah young rams. Bring to Yahuwah glory and honor. Bring to Yahuwah glory to his name. Worship Yahuwah in his holy court. The voice of Yahuwah is upon the waters. The Aluah of glory has thundered. Yahuwah is upon many waters. The voice of Yahuwah is mighty. The voice of Yahuwah is full of majesty. There is the voice of Yahuwah who breaks the cedars. Yahuwah will break the cedars of Lebanon, and he will beat them small, even Lebanon itself, like a cat. And the beloved one is as a young unicorn. There is a voice of Yahuwah who divides a flame of fire, or rather, there is added, a voice of Yahuwah who divides a flame of fire, a voice of Yahuwah who shakes the wilderness. Yahuwah will shake the wilderness of caves. Kadesh. The voice of Yahuwah strengthens the hinds and will uncover the thickets, and in his temple everyone speaks of glory. Yahuwah will dwell of the water flood, and Yahuwah will sit a king forever. Yahuwah will give strength to his people. Yahuwah will bless his people with peace. 30. I will exalt you, O Yahuwah, for you have lifted me up and not caused my enemies to rejoice over me. O Yahuwah, my Aluah, I cried to you, and you did heal me. O Yahuwah, you have brought up my soul from Hades. You have delivered me from among them that go down to the pit. Sing to Yahuwah, you his saints, and give thanks for the remembrance of his holiness. For anger is in his wrath, but life in his favor. Weeping shall wait for the evening, but joy shall be in the morning. And I said in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. O Yahuwah, in your good pleasure you did add strength to my beauty, but you did turn away your face, and I was troubled. To you, O Yahuwah, will I cry, and to my Aluah will I make supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to destruction? Shall the dust give praise to you, or shall it declare your truth? Yahuwah heard and had compassion upon me. Yahuwah is become my helper. You have turned my mourning into joy for me. You have tore off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, that my glory may sing praise to you, and I may not be pierced. O Yahuwah, my Aluah, I will give thanks to you forever. 31. O Yahuwah, I have hoped in you. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in your righteousness and rescue me. Incline your ear to make haste to rescue me. Be you to me for a protecting aluah and for a house of refuge to save me. For you are my strength and my refuge, and you shall guide me for your name's sake and maintain me. You shall bring me out of the snare which they have hidden for me. For you, O Yahuwah, are my defender, and to your hands I will commit my spirit. I have redeemed me, or you have redeemed me, O Yahuwah, Allah of truth. You have hated them that idly persist in vanities, but I have hoped in Yahuwah. I will exult and be glad in your mercy, for you have looked upon my affliction. You have saved my soul from distress, and you have not shut me up into the hands of the enemy. You have set my feet in a wide place. Pity me, O Yahuwah, for I am afflicted. My eye is troubled with indignation, my soul and my belly, for my life is spent with grief, and my years with groanings. My strength has been weakened through poverty, and my bones are troubled. I became a reproach among all my enemies, but exceedingly so to my neighbors, and a fear to mine acquaintance. They that saw me thou fled from me. I have been forgotten as a dead man out of mind. I am become as a broken vessel. For I heard the slander of many that led round about. When they were gathered together against me, they took counsel to take my life. But I hoped in you, O Yahuwah. I said, you are my Aluah. My lots are in your hands. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies, and from them that persecute me. Make your face to shine upon your servant. Save me in your mercy, O Yahuwah. Let me not be ashamed, for I have called upon you. Let the ungodly be ashamed and brought down to Hades. Let the deceitful lips become dumb, which speak iniquity against the righteous with pride and scorn. How abundant is the multitude of your goodness, O Yahuwah, which you have laid up for them that fear you. You have wrought out for them that hope on you in the presence of the sons of men. You will hide them in the secret of your presence from the vexation of man. You will screen them in the tabernacle from the contradiction of tongues. Blessed be Yahuwah. Baruch be Yahuwah, for he has magnified his mercy in a fortified city. But I said in my extreme fear, I am cast out from the sight of your eyes. Therefore you did listen, O Yahuwah, to the voice of my supplication when I cried to you. Love Yahuwah, all you his saints, for Yahuwah seeks for truth and renders to them that deal very proudly. Be of good courage, and let your heart be strengthened, all you that hope in Yahuwah. 32. But who are they whose transgressions are forgiven, and whose sins are covered? Baruch is the man to whom Yahuwah won't impute sin, and whose mouth is no guile. Because I kept silence, my bones waxed old from my crying all the day. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. I became thoroughly miserable, my thorn was fastened in me. Selah. I acknowledged my sin and hid not my iniquity. I said, I will confess my iniquity to Yahuwah against myself, and you forgave the ungodliness of my heart. Selah. Therefore shall every Kodesh one pray to you in a fit time. Only in the deluge of many waters they shall not come near to you. You are my refuge from the affliction that encompasses me, my joy to deliver me from them that have compassed me. Selah. I will instruct you and guide you in this way wherein you shall go. I will fix mine eyes upon you. Be you not as horse and mule, which have no understanding. But you must constrain their jaws with bit and curb, lest they should come near to you. Many are the scourges of the sinner, but him that hopes in Yahuwah, mercy shall compass about. Be glad in Yahuwah, and exult, you righteous, and glory all you that are upright in heart. 33. Rejoice in Yahuwah, you righteous. Praise becomes the upright. Praise Yahuwah on the harp. Lady to him on the lute of 10 strings. I think that's spelled wrong. I don't know what that's supposed to say. Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully with a loud voice. For the word of Yahuwah is right, and all his works are faithful. He loves mercy and judgment. The earth is full of the mercy of Yahuwah. By the word of Yahuwah, the heavens were established, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. Who gathers the waters of the sea in a bottle, who lays up the deeps in treasury. Let all the earth fear Yahuwah, and let all that dwell in the world be moved because of him. For he spoke and they were made. He commanded and they were created. Yahuwah frustrates the counsels of the nation. He brings to nothing also the reasonings of the people. He brings to nothing the counsels of princes. But the counsel of Yahuwah endures forever. The thoughts of his heart from generation to generation. But who is the nation whose Allah is Yahuwah? The people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. Yahuwah looks out of Shamayim, he beholds all the sons of men. He looks from his prepared habitation on all the dwellers on the earth who fashioned their hearts alone, who understands all their works. This one's rough. The king is not saved by reason of a great host, and the giant shall not be delivered by the greatness of his strength. A horse is vain for safety, neither shall he be delivered by the greatness of his power. Behold, the eyes of Yahuwah are on him that fear him, those that hope in his mercy, to deliver their souls from death, and to keep them alive in famine. Our soul waits on Yahuwah, for he is our helper and defender. For our heart shall rejoice in him, and we have hoped in his holy name. For your mercy, O Yahuwah, be upon us, according as we have hoped in you. So do I read 34 or do we stop at 34?
Yeah, read 34.
Okay. I will bless Yahuwah at all times. His praise shall be continually in my mouth. My soul shall boast herself in Yahuwah. Let the meek hear and rejoice. Magnify you, Yahuwah, with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought Yahuwah diligently, and he listened to me and delivered me from all my sojournings. Draw near to him and be enlightened, and your faces shall not be ashamed. This poor man cried, and Yahuwah listened to him and delivered him out of all his afflictions. The messenger of Yahuwah will encamp around him, about them that fear him, and will deliver them. Taste and see that Yahuwah is good. Baruch is the man who hopes in him. Fear Yahuwah, all you his saints, for there is no lack for them that fear him. The rich have become poor and hungry, but they that seek Yahuwah diligently shall not lack any good thing. Selah. Come, ye children, hear me. I will teach you the fear of Yahuwah. What man is there that desires life, loving to see good days? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking guile. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of Yahuwah are over the righteous, and his ears to their prayer. But the face of Yahuwah is against them that do evil, to destroy their memorial from the earth. The righteous cried, and Yahuwah listened to them and delivered them out of all their afflictions. Yahuwah is near to them that are of a contrite heart, and will save the lowly in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but out of them all, Yahuwah will deliver them. He keeps all their bones; not one of them shall be broken. The death of sinners is evil, and they that hate righteousness will go wrong. Yahuwah will redeem the souls of his servants, and none of those that hope in him shall go wrong. Praise Yah.
Let's see here. Wow. Thank you, Brother Joshua. Wow, okay. There's a lot of important stuff that was just read from Psalms here. See, I got like a whole list here as jotting down as Brother Joshua was reading all of these 10 chapters here. Okay, I just want to go through some bullet points here. I thought a couple of verses that are pretty important have to do with Yahusha. A lot of them have to do with Yahusha. We're going to go back to chapter 21, and we're going to go to verse 8 here. The first bullet point that I wrote down on my paper here. Let your hand be found by all your enemies. And let's see. Oh, that's right. It's always a chapter off. I keep forgetting. Okay. He hoped in Yahuwah, let him deliver him. Let him save him because he takes pleasure in him. This is actually quoted when Yahusha's on the stake on the cross. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, the Pharisees and Sadducees say this to him. So, thought I would mention that, which, by the way, it's also mentioned in the Wisdom of Solomon, but that is the Apocrypha. So, that's why I didn't write it down. But it's also mentioned in the Wisdom of Solomon as a prophecy that he took pleasure in being the son of Yahuwah, let Yahuwah deliver him. Let's see here. Psalms 21:16. For many dogs have surrounded me, the assembly of wicked doers have beset me round. They pierced my hands and my feet. Obviously, that can only pertain to one person. David's hands and feet were never pierced. So that can't be him. So he's foreshadowing Yahusha there of Yahusha's impalement. And he's basically calling Pharisees and Sadducees dogs and those that would be against him dogs. Okay, let's see here. Verse 18, they parted my garments among themselves and casted lots upon my raiment or clothing. So again, that's something that is a messianic prophecy, later happens to Yahusha. Okay. Let's see. Now we need to go to 23. Okay. 23 verse 3. I thought this was pretty important, showing the importance of the Father's name. He has restored my soul. He has guided me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Okay. Showing how important the Father's name is there. Now we're going to go to, I think, chapter 23, verse 6. I also have written down. Okay. Your mercy also shall follow me all the days of my life, and my dwelling shall be in the house of Yahuwah for a very long time. So we can see here that we are not the temple of Yahuwah. Yahuwah's temple was always referred to as a physical place, a physical dwelling where his people can dwell with him. Right. Okay. Whether it was in the tabernacle of the wilderness, whether it was in the temple of Jerusalem, okay, they dwelled with the Father. So, okay. So that I thought was an important one to bring up. Let's see here. Psalms 24:1 I've written down here. A psalm for David on and it shouldn't say first day of the week. Brenton screwed that up. Yeah, it's actually supposed to say on one of the Sabbaths. Let's see here. I think the Apostolic Bible Polyglot should have it correct. Let's see here. Where the heck? Okay. That's interesting. Trying to see. But I know a lot of times when it says first day of the week, it's actually supposed to be Sabbaton. Anyway, the reason I brought this up is because here we have a psalm for David on one of the Sabbaths. The earth is Yahuwah's and all the fullness thereof, the world and all that dwell in it. this came to my mind because a lot of people, like we just recently did a study about Saturnalia. A lot of people will use this verse in Christianity to say, well, everything is Yahuwah's. Well, that's not true. Is the satanic church Yahuwah's? So we got to be careful to precept by precept, line by line, be able to interpret stuff the way it should be interpreted. Is that the earth belongs to Yahuwah. He created the fullness of it, meaning everyone that fills it belongs to Yahuwah. That's what it's actually saying. So just wanted to mention that, because I know when we start contending for the belief and witnessing to Christians, that's going to be their number one regurgitation, is that verse. Verse 5 here, he shall receive a baraka from Yahuwah and mercy from Elohim his Savior. I thought that was pretty important to mention, because in the New Testament, Yahushua is the Savior, so I thought that was important to mention there, showing the oneness there. Let's see here, verses 7 to 10 in this chapter, I also have written down, lift up your gates, you princes, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of esteem will come in. Who is the King of esteem? Yahuwah strong and mighty, Yahuwah mighty in battle. So what's interesting too is that I remember even growing up, there was psalms like this in Christianity that actually had this scripture as a psalm.
Oh yeah.
And they would identify Yahusha as the King of majesty or the King of esteem. Yeah. And here it's saying it's Yahuwah, so I kind of see a oneness there too. Lift up your gates, you princes, okay, everlasting doors. For who is the King of esteem? Yahuwah of armies, he is the King of esteem. Okay, chapter 26, I have a note here in verse 3. For your mercy is before mine eyes, and I am well pleased with your truth. I thought this was important to note, because this shows how much David loves his law. He says, your truth I am well pleased with. And the reason we know that he's talking about the Torah as the truth is because Psalms 119, 142 says your law is truth. So we know that by Psalms identifying what truth is. Okay. We go down to verse 10 here. We have, let's see. Yeah. Verse 10, it says, in whose hands are lawlessnesses, and their right hand is filled with bribes. Hold on. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting it's a chapter off. I'm so stupid. Okay. I keep messing up because the numberings are different in the Septuagint. Okay. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but Yahuwah has taken me to myself. This verse really screamed out Yahusha to me. The fact that he, it says, I think in Ephesians, if I'm not mistaken, that the Father reconciled the world to himself through Yahushua Messiah, right? So this, and we know that we received the spirit of adoption. The set-apart spirit's also known as the spirit of adoption. So this kind of pointed to the Brit Hadashah to me when I saw this. Let's see here if I can find. Okay, let's see here if I can find the exact verse. He reconciled the world to himself. Hold on a second. Let me just get the scripture here. Colossians 1:10. Oh, not 1:10, 1:20. So Colossians 1:20. Okay. Right. Let me go here. All right. Hold on a second. Where is it? I must have forgotten to get the restored name in King James. Oh well. All right, here we go. First, Colossians 1:20. Okay. Yahuwah made peace through the blood of his execution stake. Yahuwah reconciled all things to himself. So it means that he was on the stake, whether the things on the earth or things in heaven. Okay. And 2 Corinthians 5:19. Okay. So 2 Corinthians 5:19 is another instance here where Paul is showing this. Okay. 2 Corinthians 5:19. Please, can you mute yourselves? I'm hearing background noise, please. That
Okay.
is in Messiah.
Or
Hold on.
Jesse
Please.
doesn't. Does Jesse? She's
Someone,
organic, but no.
hold on, everyone.
Doug, you can mute it.
Hang on, it's okay. I'm right here. What are you doing? Looking at my phone.
All right. Yeah, hold on. I just want to finish reading here. All right. Let me get back. I know Gibson's, you guys have your hand up. I'll get to you once I finish this cross-reference here. It says 2 Corinthians 5:19, that is in Messiah, who is reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them. He is entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. So that's 2 Corinthians 5:19. Okay, and so we're done with that. Now we are, let's see here. So I was almost practically done here. There's just 27 verse 8 is the last one I just wanted to bring up, and then we'll go to Brother Jeff and Sister Zakaya, and then after that we'll be doing our last portion of the Torah portion for today. So Psalms 27, 8. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Go to the next chapter since it's a chapter off. Okay. Let's see here. Verse 8. Yahuwah is the strength of his people and the saving defender of his anointed. I thought to mention that because that's referring to the anointed, meaning the Messiah, his anointed, his Messiah. So I find that very interesting, foreshadowing Yahusha there. So that's very interesting. So I think that's about it. We got plenty of others that I have written down, but we can move on because I don't want to take too much time. And I know the Gibsons want to mention something. Go ahead, Gibsons.
Yeah, there's a bunch of okay, let me start with this real quick. Psalms 30 that we read here.
Yeah.
If you read Psalms 30, there's a lot of Messiah in here as well, and I have some cross references as I go. Let's see. It says, "I will praise you, O Yahuwah, for you lifted me up and did not allow my enemies to gloat over me. O Yahuwah, my Elohim, I cried out to you and you healed me. O Yahuwah, you pulled me up from Sheol. You rescued me from among those descending into the grave." Okay, my first cross reference is going to be, let's see. Messiah descended to Sheol to declare the good news. In 1 Peter 4:6, it says, "Good tidings were proclaimed to the dead," right? So he literally descended to Sheol, but he didn't stay dead. He rose again. It says, "Sing to Yahuwah, you faithful followers of his. Give thanks to his holy name. For his anger lasts only a brief moment, and his good favor restores one's life. One may experience sorrow during the night, but joy arrives in the morning." So in verse 5, it says, "For his anger lasts only a brief moment." I have Psalms 22, I believe. One second. Hold on one second. I'm looking for it. Oh man, it's the one that says it pleased Yahuwah to crush him for the iniquities of all mankind. I'm just looking for that verse. I might have accidentally closed it here.
Isaiah 53. I know it's in 53.
Okay, you know the verse, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. Pleased him to take away the stroke. Let's see here. Yeah. Isaiah 53:11, the Brenton says, Yahuwah also is pleased to take away from the travail of his soul, to show him light, inform him of understanding, to declare righteous the righteous one who serves many well, and he shall bear their sins. So it might be different a little bit in your version if you have a Masoretic. Might be a little different. This one talks about bearing their sins.
So you can see how in verse 5 it says, his anger lasts only for a brief moment, and his good favor restores one's life, right? And then we keep going down. In my self-confidence, I said, I will never be upended. Oh, Yahuwah, in your good favor, you made me secure. Then you rejected me, and I was terrified. Now I want to go to this verse. The rejected me, and I was terrified. Is Psalms 22:1. Psalms 22:1. It's a Psalm of David, obviously, and it says, my Elohim, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see the same words with the Messiah, you know. So there was a moment, you know, where this seemed like it came into fruition with the Messiah as well. What profit is there in taking my life, in my descending into the pit? Can the dust of the grave praise you? Can it declare your loyalty? Now, in that verse 9, I want to, I'd like to do a side note of, take this cup from me. Of Luke 22, it says, Father, if you be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Right? So in that verse, he says, if you're willing to take this cup from me, he's in context. He's talking about what's about to happen to him and how he's there for suffering, you know? And so we can see that in that cross reference. Let me go back to mine. He's saying this question that he's asking is, what profit is there in taking my life and my descending into the pit? Right? Can the dust of the grave give praise to you? Can it declare your loyalty? Hear, O Yahuwah, have mercy on me and deliver me. Then you turned my lament into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and covered me with joy. So we see, you know, that verse of, can you take this suffering, make it so I don't have to die, you know, make it so I don't have to go through with this, you know. What profit is there in taking my life and descending into the pit? Mm-hmm. Right? But then it says, and then we see this picture of him being raised on the third day after it in verse 11, when it says, then you turned my lament into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and covered me with joy. So now my heart will sing to you and not be silent. Yahuwah, my Elohim, I will always give thanks to you. So it is David, but I don't recall David, like in verse 3, descending down to Sheol and being brought back up.
It's almost like not only is he speaking through Yahusha, but he's speaking like through all of Israel, just as a, you know, because Yahusha is the head of Israel, you know, and so like him dying, like pretty much Israel was cut off,
right?
You know, but then him resurrecting Israel is also resurrected as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and David also Yep, go ahead, bro.
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry. I can't see your mouth moving when you start talking.
It's all right. It's really dark. It's starting to get dark in here.
No, you're not all on my screen.
So I was just going to piggyback off of what you just said a minute ago about how this can't be referring to David then and there, because first of all, he did see corruption. His body saw corruption, and it says you have not allowed your servant to see corruption, and that's quoted later in the New Testament. And Yahusha himself is claiming that's him that did not see corruption, because think about it, his body didn't rot. Mm-hmm. David's body to this day is in the grave. It rotted. So even the most literal sense, not I'm not talking about sinful corruption. I'm talking about rotting, a body rotting, seeing corruption. So David definitely saw corruption. So it can't be referring to him. So I wanted to make that point. And thank you, Brother Jeff, for bringing that up. There's just a couple more notes I have from what Brother Joshua's read, because we went through like 10 chapters. So there's a couple more once you get to chapter 28 to 30. I have from chapter 8 to 33 a couple of notes here that I just want to get through, and then we'll do the book of Mark. So let me just see here. Let me go back on the share screen and just go through these as quickly as possible. Let's see here. So we got chapter 28, verse 2. Okay. Let's see here. So 28:2. Bring to Yahuwah esteem due to his name. Again, the importance of the Father's name. Worship Yahuwah in his set-apart court, showing that his temple can't be the human body if his court is separate from us. Okay. The voice of Yahuwah is upon the waters, and the Alim esteem has thundered. Yahuwah is upon many waters. So that's interesting. I didn't mean to read that, but that's interesting. Psalms 31:4. So let's jump ahead to Psalms 31:4. Okay. And let's see here. One more. Yeah, there we go. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. I became thoroughly miserable while a thorn. Oh no, whoops. Okay, I keep getting confused with the numberings of the Brenton's verses the regular Masoretic text. Okay. Verse 4 here. You shall bring me out of the snare, which they have hidden for me. For you, O Yahuwah, are my defender. So that's interesting there. We have him being taken out of the snare. Another one, let's see here. In the next chapter here, there's a mention of the deluge, which I thought was interesting because this is the Greek word used for the flood of Noah. So in general, this is a Greek word that means flood. And sometimes even in the Targum on Kalos, when we did our Genesis readings a couple of weeks ago, starting that off in chapter 6, it used that word for the flood of Noah. So I just thought that was interesting to mention. So that's, therefore shall every set apart one pray to you in a fit time. Only in the deluge of many waters they shall not come near to him. So that's interesting. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to 33 verse 4. For the word of Yahuwah is righteous, and all his works are trustworthy. So that's basically talking about Yahusha there. He is righteous. He is without sin. He is all righteous, and all his works are trustworthy. All means all. Okay, so let's see here. And let's see, verse 6 I also had, which I thought was really important and kind of explains who is the we in Genesis 1 here. Okay, by the word of Yahuwah, okay, by him, by the word of Yahuwah, the heavens were established. So that means the word of Yahuwah created the heavens and all the army of them. Now, when it says host of heaven in your English Bibles, it's referring specifically to the angels, the stars. Just wanted to put that out there. So by the breath of his mouth. So the word, it's actually saying the breath of the word of Yahuwah's mouth. In one breath, let there be light. Light. Right? So I thought that was pretty interesting to note. Let's see here. Also, let's see here in the next chapter, there's about 4 more and then we're done. So let me just see here. 33 verse 12. Let's see here. Did I do this right? Hold on. I always get confused with this. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. Baruch is the nation whose Elohim is Yahuwah, the people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. And I have a cross-reference with this for Psalms 33:12. In the Masoretic, it would be 33:12. In the Septuagint, it's 32:12. Which is kind of interesting. It's chapter 32 of Psalms. And the Septuagint links up with Deuteronomy 32, verse 8 of the Septuagint. So that's kind of interesting. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, talking about the Tower of Babel, he set the boundaries of the nations according to the number of the angels of Elohim. In the Greek, that would be Agelotheos. Okay. And his people, Jacob, became the portion of Yahuwah, and Yasharal was the line of his inheritance. So verse 9 right there links up with Psalms 33:12. Okay. And I just got literally 2 more, and then we'll move on to the book of Mark. Okay. All right. Psalms 33. Okay, Psalms 33, 4. Okay. For the word of Yahuwah is righteous and all his works are trustworthy. Okay, so we already went through that. Okay. 33:7. Oh, let's see. Hold on. So just make sure here. Oh, all right. So it's actually 34 in the Masoretic, verse 4. Okay. I sought Yahuwah diligently, and he hearkened to me and delivered me from all my sojourning. So I thought it was very interesting that it says diligently. So I thought that was something to note right there. So now we're going to go to verse 7 and verse 10. The angel of Yahuwah will encamp around about them that fear him and will deliver them. So I thought it was interesting. It mentions the angel of Yahuwah surrounds them that fear him. So it's not he surrounds everyone and saves everyone. He saves those that fear him. So I thought that was important to note there. Verse 10, the rich have become poor and hungry, but they that seek Yahuwah diligently, not just seek him, but diligently shall not want any thing. And okay. And like I mentioned, we had a couple of brothers and sisters last time asking, why does it say pause after every line of certain Psalms? Pause is English for Selah. Pause basically means a Selah is a pause, actually. Yeah. The concept of a Selah is a pause. When you're actually singing out the Psalms, like you'll take a pause on certain lines. So just to explain what that means. Okay. And that's pretty much about it. So now we're going to continue here. And I'm trying to think. Let's see. Brother Dennis, if you're available, can you read Mark 11 to 15, if possible? If not, I'll read. Okay. All right. Okay. That's all right. I'll read. Okay.
I could too.
Let me just give me a second, guys. I'm gonna see here, get my scriptures here.
Yeah, my wife has a question whenever we're all done with the reading.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Okay. Right, I'm going to read. For simplicity, I'll just read my NLT here, my physical NLT I have here from Mark 11 to 16. Okay. Baruch you, Mom. Baruch you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. 997. Let's see, 997. All right. Yahusha triumphs his triumphant entry. Okay, Mark chapter 11 in the New Living Translation. I'll put my camera on here. All right. Yahusha's triumphant entry. As Yahushua and his disciples approached Jerusalem, they came to the towns of Bethphage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives. Yahushua sent 2 of them on ahead. Go into the village over there, he told them. As soon as you enter it, you will see a young donkey tied there that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it. Okay, see here. As soon as you read it, there that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone asks, what are you doing? Just say Yahuwah needs it and will return it soon. The 2 disciples left and found the colt standing in the street. and tied outside the front door. As they were untying it, some bystanders demanded, "What are you doing untying that colt?" They said what Yahusha had told them to say. They were permitted to take it. Then they brought the colt to Yahusha and threw their garments over it, and he sat on it. Many in the crowd spreading their garments on the road ahead of him, and others spread leafy branches they had cut in the fields. And Yahusha was in the center of the procession. People all around him were shouting, "Praise Allah! Barakas on the one who comes in the name of Yahuwah. Barakas on the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Praise Allah in the highest heaven." So Yahusha came to Jerusalem and went into the temple. After looking around carefully at everything, he left because it was late in the afternoon. Then he returned to Bethany with the 12 disciples. Yahusha curses the fig tree. So now we're getting to the part about the fig tree. The next morning, as they were leaving Bethany, Yahusha was hungry. He noticed a fig tree in the full leaf a little way off. So he went over to see if he could find any figs, but there were only leaves because it was too early in the season for fruit. Then Yahusha said to the tree, "May no one ever eat your fruit again." And the disciples heard him say it. Yahusha clears the temple. When they arrived back in Jerusalem, Yahusha entered the temple and began to drive out the people buying and selling animals for sacrifices. He knocked over the tables of money changers and chairs of those selling doves, and he stopped everyone from using the temple as a marketplace. He said to them, "The scriptures declares, my temple will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves." When the leading priests and teachers of the religious law heard what Yahusha had done, they began planning how to kill him, but they were afraid of him because the people were so amazed at his teaching. That evening, Yahusha and his disciples left the city, and the next morning, as they passed by the fig tree he had cursed, the disciples noticed it had withered from the roots up. Kapha remembered what Yahusha had said to the tree on the previous day and exclaimed, "Look, Rabbi, the fig tree you cursed has withered and died." Then Yahusha said to the disciples, "Have belief in Allah. I tell you the truth. You can say to this mountain, 'May you be lifted upon and thrown into the sea,' and it will happen. But you must really believe it will happen and have no doubt in your heart. I tell you, you can pray for anything, and if you believe that you received it, it will be yours. But when you are praying, first forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins also." The authority of Yahusha challenged. Again, they entered Jerusalem. As Yahusha was walking through the temple area, the leading priests, the teachers of the religious law, and the elders came to him. They demanded, "By what authority are you doing all these things? Who gave you the right to do them?" "I tell you by what authority I do these things if you answer one question," Yahusha replied. "Did John's authority to immerse come from heaven, or was it merely human? Answer me." They talked it over themselves. "If we say it was from heaven, he will ask why we didn't believe John. But if we dare say it was merely human," for they were afraid of what the people would do because everyone believed that John was a prophet. So they finally replied, "We don't know." And Yahusha responded, "Then I won't tell you by what authority I do these things." Okay, chapter 12 of Mark. Parable of the evil farmers. Then Yahusha began teaching them with stories. A man planted a vineyard. He built a wall around it and dug a pit for pressing out the grape juice and built a lookout tower. Then he released the vineyard to tenant farmers and moved to another country. At the time of the grape harvest, he sent out one of his servants to collect his share of the crop. But the farmers grabbed the servant, beat him up, and sent him back empty-handed. The owner then sent another servant But they insulted him and beat him over the head. The next servant he sent was killed. Others he sent were either beaten or killed until there was only one left. His son, whom he loved dearly, the owner finally sent him, thinking, surely they will respect my son. But the tenant farmers said to one another, here comes the heir to this estate. Let's kill him and get the estate for ourselves. So they grabbed him and murdered him and threw his body out of the vineyard. What do you suppose the owner of the vineyard will do? Yahushua asked. I tell you, he will come and kill those farmers and lease the vineyard to others. Didn't you ever read this in the scriptures? The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This is Yahuwah's doing, and it is wonderful to see. So it's marvelous in our eyes, wonderful to see. Okay, so that, and I believe that's from Psalms. So you can find that, I think, in, let's see, Psalms. I have a footnote here in my translation. So it says Psalms 118, 22 to 23. That's where you can find that prophecy. Okay, let's see. Let's go to verse 12 here. The religious leaders wanted to arrest Yahushua because they realized he was telling the story against them. They were the wicked farmers, but they were afraid of the crowd, so they left him and went away. Later, the leaders sent some Pharisees and supporters of Herod to trap Yahushua into saying something for which he could be arrested. Teacher, they said, we know how honest you are. You are impartial and don't play favorites. You teach the way of Allah truthfully. Tell us, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or shouldn't we? Yahushua saw their hypocrisy and said, why are you trying to trap me? Show me a Roman coin, and I'll tell you. When they handed it to him, he asked, whose picture and title are stamped on it? Caesar's, they replied. Well then, Yahushua said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to Allah what belongs to Allah. His reply completely amazed them. And it is important to note here that what we see modern today with combining assembly with state, Yahushua would completely disagree with that concept, completely disagree with it. Basically, we're not to be involved in politics. So anyway. He separates state and assembly. That's why he says to give to Yahuwah what's Yahuwah's, give to the government, give to Rome what is Rome's, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Okay. Then Yahushua was approached by some Sadducees, religious leaders, who say there is no resurrection from the dead. I like how they're paraphrasing this here, because that's exactly what they were inferring, really, in their minds. They posed this question, teacher, Masha gave us a law that if a man dies having a wife without children, his brother should marry the widow and have a child who will carry on the brother's name. Well, suppose there were 7 brothers. The oldest one married and then died without children. So the second brother married the widow, but he also died. So what they're talking about is Torah here. They're trying to trap him with the Torah. They're basically in their mind, they're thinking they can use the Torah to disprove the resurrection is what they're trying to do. The oldest one married and died without children. So the second brother married the widow, but he also died without children. Then the third brother married her. This continued with all the 7 of them, and still there were no children. Last of all, the woman also died. So tell us, whose life will she be in the resurrection? Or whose wife? I mean, yeah, for all 7 were married to her. Yahushua replied, your mistake is that you don't know the scriptures. And you don't know the power of Allah. For when the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given into marriage. In this respect, they will be like the angels in heaven. Okay, and this connects with Genesis 6. Those angels did what they were not meant to do.
Right.
That's why he's saying we will be like the angels. He's basically saying there is no more having children and being married when the resurrection comes. That's what he's actually saying. So he's actually likening this to this concept that is found in Genesis 6 and is even found in extra biblical literature like Enoch. Okay, that's what he's actually saying here. So, but now as to whether the dead will be raised, haven't you ever read about this in the writings of Moshe and the story of the burning bush? Long after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had died, Allah said to Moshe, I am the Allah of Abraham, Isaac, and the Allah of Jacob. So he is the Allah of the living, not the dead. You have made a serious error. Okay, the most important commandment. One of the teachers of the religious law was standing there listening to the debate. He realized that Yahusha had answered well, and he asked, of all the commandments, which is the most important? Yahusha replied, the most important commandment is, listen, O Yasharal. Yahuwah our Elohim is one, and only Yahuwah. And you must love Yahuwah your Allah with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. Second is equally important, love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. He's not saying that those are the only commandments. He's just saying there's no other commandment within the Torah that is greater than those top two is what he's actually saying. Okay. The teacher of the religious law replied, well said, teacher. You have spoken truth by saying that there is only one Allah and no other. And I know it is important to love him with all my heart and with all my understanding, with all my strength, and to love my neighbor as myself. This is more important than to offer all the burnt offerings and sacrifices required in the law. Realizing how much the man understood, Yahusha said to him, you are not far from the kingdom of Allah. And after that, no one dared to ask him any more questions. Later, as Yahusha was teaching the people in the temple, he asked, why do the teachers of the religious law claim that Messiah is the son of David? For David himself, speaking under the inspiration of the set-apart spirit, said, Yahuwah said to my master. So it's showing that David has a master, the Messiah is actually David's master. It's not David. Yahuwah said to my master, sit in the place of honor at my right hand until I humble your enemies beneath your feet. So David himself called the Messiah my master. How can the Messiah be his son? The large crowd listened to him with great delight. Yahusha also taught, beware these teachers of religious law, for they like to parade around in flowing robes and receive respecting greetings as they walk in the marketplaces, and how they love the seats of honor in synagogues and the head table at banquets, yet they shamelessly cheat widows out of their property and then pretend to be reverent by making long prayers in public. Because of this, they will be more severely punished. Yeah, I've seen that even in this movement. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yahusha sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people put in large amounts. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Yahusha called his disciples to him and said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions, for they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she has given everything she had to live on. All right, chapter 13. Yahusha foretells the future. So now we're getting to like his return here. He's going to be talking about the end of days and all that. As Yahusha was leaving the temple that day, one of his disciples said, Teacher, look at these magnificent buildings. Look at the impressive stones in the walls. Yahusha replied, yes, look at these great buildings, but they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another. Later, Yahusha sat at the Mount of Olives across the valley from the temple. Kapha, Jacob, John, and Andrew came to him privately and asked him, tell us, when will all this happen? What will be the sign? What sign will show us that these things are about to be fulfilled? Yahusha replied, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name. Okay, so that's not just Jesus. There's going to be false prophets declaring the name of Yahusha. claiming, I am the Messiah, they will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Ethnos shall rise against ethnos, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in many parts of the world, as well as famines, but this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. When these things begin to happen, watch out. You will be handed over to local councils and beaten in the synagogues. You will stand trial before governors and kings because you are my followers. But this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. For the glad tidings must first be preached to all nations, but when you are arrested and stand trial, don't worry in advance but about what to say. Just say what Allah tells you at that time. For it is not you who will be speaking, but the set-apart Spirit. A brother will betray his brother to death. A father will betray his own child, and children will rebel against their parents and cause them to be killed. And everyone will hate you because you are my followers. Or it will, some say probably for my name's sake. Okay. But the one who endures to the end shall be saved. Okay. The day is coming when you will see the sacrilegious object that causes desecration. So they're paraphrasing abomination and desolation here. Standing, meaning it's a statue, standing where it should not be, meaning it's in a physical temple. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. Notice how it says those in Judea, not everyone. Okay. A person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter, for there will be greater anguish in those days than at any time since Allah created the world. And it will be never so great again. In fact, unless Yahuwah shortens that time of calamity, not a single person will survive. But for the sake of his chosen ones, meaning the elect, he shall shorten those days. Then if anyone tells you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even Allah's chosen ones. Watch out. I have warned you about this ahead of time. At that time, after the anguish of those days, or after the great tribulation, after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened. So notice how it says he's giving you the timeline here. There, and anyone that still believes in the pre-tribulation, pay attention to this verse. At that time, after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then everyone will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with great power and esteem, and he will send out his angels to gather his chosen ones, his elect, from all over the world, from the farthest ends of the earth and heaven. Now learn a lesson from the fig tree. When its branches bud and its leaves begin to sprout, you know that summer is near. In the same way, when you see all these things taking place, you can know that his return is very near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will not pass from the scene before all these things take place. He's referring to a remote generation, like the end times generation. Heaven and earth will disappear, but my words will never disappear. However, no one knows the day or hour when these things will happen. No, not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself, only the Father knows. And since you don't know when that time will come, be on guard, stay alert. The coming of the Son of Man can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. When he left home, he gave each of his slaves instructions about the work they were to do, and he told the gatekeeper to watch for his return. You too must keep watch, for you do not know when the master of the household will return. In the evening, at midnight, before dawn, or at daybreak. Don't let him find you sleeping when he arrives without warning. Now, obviously, the sleeping here, it's spiritual, talking about do not fall asleep, do not fall away. I say to you what I say to everyone, watch for him. Okay. Now we're up to Mark chapter 14. Yahusha anointed at Bethany. It was now 2 days before the Passover. At the festival of unleavened bread, the leading priests and teachers of religious law were still looking for an opportunity to capture Yahusha secretly and kill him. Okay. Right, so, yep. But not during the Passover celebration, they agreed, or the people may riot. Okay. Meanwhile, Yahusha was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who had previously had leprosy. While he was eating, a woman came with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard. She broke open the jar and poured the perfume over his head. Okay. Let's see. Some of those at the table were indignant. Why waste such expensive perfume, they asked. Okay. It could have been sold for a year's wages and the money given to the poor. So they scolded her harshly. But Yahusha replied, leave her alone. Why criticize her for doing such a thing to me? You will always have the poor among you. You can help them whenever you want to, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth, wherever the glad news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priest to arrange to betray Yahusha to them. They were delighted when they heard why he had come, and they promised to give him money. So he began looking for an opportunity to betray Yahusha. On the first day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, Yahusha's disciples asked him, when do you want us to prepare the Passover meal for you? So Yahusha sent 2 of them into Jerusalem with these instructions. As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner, the teacher asks, where's my guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples? He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meals. So the 2 disciples went into the city and found everything just as Yahusha had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. In the evening, Yahusha arrived with the 12 disciples. As they were at the table eating, Yahusha said, I tell you the truth, one of you eating with me here will betray me. Greatly distressed, each one asked in turn, am I the one? He replied, it is one of you 12 who is eating from this bowl with me. For the Son of Man must die, as the scriptures declared long ago. But how terrible it will be for the one who betrays him. It would be far better if that man had never been born. And they were eating. Yahusha took some bread and broke it, and then he broke it in pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, take it, for this is my body. And he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to Allah for it. He gave it to them, and they all drank it. And he said to them, this is my blood, which confirms the covenant between Allah and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice for many. I tell you the truth, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new in the kingdom of Allah. Then they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. Yahusha predicts Kaffa's denial. On the way, Yahusha told them, all of you will desert me, for the scriptures say, Allah will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. And let's see here if they give you a little note here where you can find it. Yep, Zechariah 13, verse 7. But after I am raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and meet you there. Kaffa said to them, even everyone else deserts you, I never will. Yahusha replied, I tell you the truth, Kapha. This very night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny 3 times that you even know me. No, Kapha declared emphatically. Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And all the others vowed the same. They went to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and Yahusha said, sit here while I go and pray. And he took Kapha and Jacob and John with him, and he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little farther and fell to the ground. He prayed that if it were possible, the awful hour awaiting him might pass by him, the cup. Abba, Father, he cried out, everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering away from me, yet I want your will to be done, not mine. Then he returned and found the disciples asleep, and he said to Kapha, Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Then Yahusha left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open and they didn't know what to say. When he returned to them the 3rd time, he said, go ahead and sleep, have your rest, but know the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's get going. Look, my betrayer is here. Yahusha is betrayed and arrested. And immediately, even as Yahusha said this, Judas, or Yehuda, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by leading priests, teachers of the religious law, and the elders. The traitor, Judas, has been given them a prearranged signal. You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. Which I kind of find interesting. This is like a little anecdote, but the Apocalypse of Abraham mentions that that Satan would kiss him on the cheek. So it's kind of interesting for what it's worth. Extra biblical book giving credence to this as a type of prophecy of Judas kissing him on the cheek. So just thought that was interesting. Anyway, then you will take him under guard. As soon as they arrive, Judas walked up to Yahusha and he said, Rabbi, he exclaimed, and gave him the kiss. And the others grabbed Yahusha and arrested him, but one of the men with Yahusha pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's slave, slashing off his ear. Yahusha asked them, am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there among you, teaching every day, but these things are happening to fulfill what scriptures say about me. Then all the disciples deserted him and ran away. One young man followed behind, was clothed only in a long linen shirt. When the mob tried to grab him, he slipped out of his shirt and ran away naked. They took Yahusha to the high priest's home, where the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of the religious law had gathered. Meanwhile, Kapha followed him at a distance and went right into the high priest's courtyard. There he sat with the guards and warming himself by the fire. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find evidence against Yahusha so they could put him to death. But they couldn't find any. Many false witnesses spoke against him, but they contradicted each other. Finally, some men stood up and gave this false witness. We heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another. This is actually the origin of why Christianity actually gets this whole transference of the temple. Is actually, they're actually agreeing with the Pharisees, whether they know it or not. So Yahusha never said he was going to change the temple to the human body. Just saying. So that interpretation is actually done by the Pharisees.
So what does the word Eloah mean? I've never heard that.
It's singular. Eloah, it's different pronunciations for it, but it's the Aramaic singular for Elohim or Elohim. It's basically the same word. It's just the Aramaic singular. You'll see it in the book of Daniel sometimes, but they kind of corrupted it in our modern versions of Daniel, where they made it Eloah. So they replaced the with an eh. So yeah, but Eloah is like
I've never heard that.
yeah, it's the singular form of it
Okay.
in the Aramaic.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And in 3 days I will build another made without human hands. But even they didn't get their story straight. Then the high priest stood up before the others and asked Yahusha, well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Yahusha was silent, made no reply. Then the high priest asked him, are you the Messiah, the son of the Baruch one? Yahusha said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of the power at Aluah's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven. Now, Yahusha, what he's doing here, he's referencing book of Daniel, how you have the Ancient of Days, the Son of Man came to the Ancient of Days, and how he's with him on the right hand of power. So this is why they're rending their garments. They're getting angry because they realize he's claiming to be the pre-incarnate Son of Man. Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror and said, why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard this blasphemy. What is your verdict? And they said, guilty. They all cried, he deserves to die. Then some of all of them began to spit at him, and they blindfolded him and beat him with their fists. Prophesy to us, they jeered. And the guards slapped him as they took him away. Looked at him closely and said, you were one of those with Yahusha of Nazareth. But Kaffa denied it. I don't know what you are talking about, he said. And he went out into the entryway. Just then a rooster crowed. When the servant girl saw him standing there, she began telling the others, this man is definitely one of them. But Kaffa denied it again. A little later, some of the other bystanders confronted Kaffa and said, you must be one of them because you are a Galilean. Kaffa swore, a curse on me if I am lying. I don't know this man you're talking about. And immediately the rooster crowed a second time. Suddenly, Yahusha's words flashed through Kaffa's mind. Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me. And he broke down and wept. Chapter 15. Yahusha's trial before Pilate. Very early in the morning, the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of the religious law, the entire high council met to discuss their next step. They bound Yahusha, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate asked Yahusha, are you the king of the Judeans? And Yahusha replied, you have said it. Then the leading priests kept accusing him of many crimes. And Pilate asked him, aren't you going to answer them? What about all these charges they are bringing against you? But Yahusha said nothing, much to Pilate's surprise. But it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner, anyone the people requested. One of the prisoners at that time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. So basically, according to tradition, like if you ever see any of the shows like Jesus of Nazareth or a lot of the TV shows and movies they've done about the passion of Yahusha, they'll kind of portray Barabbas as like this zealot, like he's one of the zealots. So he wasn't like so it depends on what version of the story some of these movies portray, but it seems like the NLT is giving credence that he was like a type of a zealot or something, part of a radical part of the Judeans. There was groups called the Zealots that were like fanatics. They're kind of like anarchists today. The atheist movement of anarchism is actually very similar to the Zealots. But anyway, so very early in the morning, the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law, the entire high council met to discuss their next step. They bound Yahusha and, oh, that's right. I already read that. Sorry about that. Okay, so one of the prisoners at the time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. The crowd went to Pilate and asked him to release a prisoner as usual. Would you like me to release to you this king of the Judeans? Pilate asked, for he realized by now that the leading priest had arrested Yahusha out of envy. But at this point, the leading priest stirred up the crowd to demand to release of Barabbas instead of Yahusha. Pilate asked him, then what should I do with this man you call the king of the Judeans? They shouted back, impale him, impale him. Why? Pilate demanded. What crime has he committed? But the mob roared even louder, impale him. So to pacify the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Yahusha flogged with a lead-tipped whip, then turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be impaled. Okay, the soldiers mocked Yahusha. The soldiers took Yahusha in the courtyard of the governor's headquarters called the Praetorium and called out the entire regiment. They dressed him in a purple robe and they wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. Then they saluted him and taunted, Hail, King of the Judeans! And they struck him on the head with a reed stick, spit on him, and dropped to their knees in mock worship. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be impaled, the crucifixion, or the impalement. A passerby named Simon, who was from Cyrene, was coming into the countryside just then, and the soldiers forced him to carry Yahusha's stake. Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus, and they brought Yahusha to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. They offered him wine drugged with myrrh, but he refused it. Then the soldiers nailed him to the stake. They divided his clothes and threw dice to decide who would get each piece. So what they're referring to is casting lots for his clothing. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and when they impaled him, a sign was fastened to the stake announcing the charge against him. It read, the King of the Judeans. 2 revolutionaries were impaled with him, one on his right and one on his left. That's interesting, revolutionaries, because I always thought it was thieves, but that's kind of interesting. The people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. Ha, look at you now, they yelled at him. You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well then, save yourself and come down from the stake. The leading priests and teachers of religious law also mocked Yahusha, and he saved others, they scoffed, but he can't save himself. Let this Messiah, this King of Yashar, come down from the stake so we can see it and believe him. Even the men who were impaled with Yahusha ridiculed him. At noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock, Yahusha called out with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my Alua, why have you abandoned me? Some of the bystanders misunderstood and thought he was calling for the prophet Elijah. One of them ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, which is probably referring to vinegar, holding it up to him on a reed stick so he could drink. Wait, he said, let's see whether Elijah comes to take him down. Then Yahusha uttered another loud cry and breathed his last, and the curtain in the set-apart place of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. Obviously, we know that that's actually very correct, the way they translated that, because there's no way the veil in heaven tore, so it's actually referring to the veil in the temple in Jerusalem. When the Roman officer who stood facing him saw how he died, he exclaimed, this man truly was the son of Alua. Some women were there watching from a distance, including Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of Jacob the younger and of Joseph, and Salome. They had been followers of Yahusha and had cared for him while he was in Galilee. Many other women who had come with him to Jerusalem were also there. So here we go. The burial of Yahusha. This all happened on Friday, the day of preparation, the day before the Sabbath. As evening approached, Joseph of Arimathea took a visit went to Pilate and asked for Yahusha's body. Joseph was an honored member of the high council and was waiting for the kingdom of Alua to come. Pilate couldn't believe that Yahusha was already dead, so he called for the Roman officer and asked if he had died yet. The officer confirmed that Yahusha was dead, so Pilate told Joseph he could have the body. Joseph brought a long sheet of linen cloth. Then he took Yahusha's body down from the stake, wrapped it in a cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been carved out of rock. Then he rolled a stone in the front of the entrance. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where Yahusha's body was laid. And that is Mark chapter 15. So that is it for today's Torah portion. Thank you everyone for bearing with us. We are gonna be ending it for today, and please stay tuned. We will be doing the next Torah portion next Shabbat. So if anyone's interested and anyone wants to join the fellowship or be guests and wants to participate in our studies, please reach out to us on Facebook. I'm going to start giving out my email on these studies on YouTube for people to reach out. So thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your Sabbath. To our brothers and sisters out there that are seeing this on YouTube and will later see all of our portions today on Facebook. Shalom.
Shalom.